Witness me! Alright, Immortan Ross. Furiosa, a Madmax Saga. 2024, written and directed by George Miller, the Fury Road prequel. Gaz and I have been on this. Well, for one, let's announce the fact that the film came out yesterday, and me and Gaz are actually reviewing it today, so that's pretty much a first time ever for PXF. We're not doing it. 1 second, guys. I've got a video going on in the background.
No worries, I'll just do a quick shout. What up, Fire Pixie? Thanks for coming
you take
through.
It from here.
We're reporting for duty. The fact that we're on time. Does that count for letting you know?
Got it.
Give us a thumbs up.
It was an ad.
Good to see you anyway.
Pixie, we're getting to you. So unfortunately, you're wrong on this. So
yeah.
We feel you. Prequels and sequels and reboot-quels are usually really bad and not good, but as I explained to you last time, Fury Road's written and directed by George Miller, and it actually has Madmax in it, unlike this movie we're about to review. So, you know what I mean? It is a true Madmax. I like the first three. You know, a lot of people don't even really have that high ratings of Thunderdome. You know what I mean?
Yeah, me either.
So yeah, so that's common among the Madmax community.
Yeah.
Furiosa, Madmax Saga. This is IMDb, the origin story of renegade warrior Furiosa before her encounter and team up with Madmax. And, you know, I think baseline where me and Gaz were at is Fury Road is 75% about Furiosa anyway, because Max is muzzled for the first act, and he barely has any dialogue for the rest of the movie, so even though he gets into the fight scene, yeah, I know Mr. H's criticism of Fury Road was it was a lot of combat sequences, you know, music-driven combat sequences, which is much less in Furiosa. Just overall impression, yeah, I don't think either of us have as high of a rating as Fury Road. Very good cinematography. I would say if this film does have one edge, Max is. Are you asking about Max in Fury Road? He's played by Tom Hardy, who's probably one of the best actors out now. He is in Inception. He's Bane in The Dark Knight Rises. Tough to miss Tom Hardy nowadays. So I would say maybe colorization. If there's one thing George Miller improved on this one, Gaz, maybe the coloring. That's just we're gonna do what we always do, which is start with the good, what we liked, and then we'll get into our usual nitpicky selves. It's much more story-driven, much more of a narrative. Like I said, I don't know that a Furiosa origin was necessary because we never even had a Max origin. So, you know what I mean? You know, I guess just to let you guys in on where me and Gaz, once you start getting to a Mad Max saga, like how's it a Mad Max saga without Mad Max? Much like these John Wick spin-offs. They want to take every single character of the John Wick universe and make a movie about them. John Wick is what makes the John Wick universe interesting, you know what I mean? And likewise for Mad Max. That's kind of me and Gaz's take on it in a nutshell.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm just gonna wait till we get to. I guess we do the good and the bad. Because if I say anything now, I'm gonna start. So I'll try and do this in a logical order for once. Don't forget to support and subscribe to the channel, folks, as well. We've got lots of stuff coming up. Me and Ross are always working behind the scenes. New Zodiac content as well coming soon, and lots of other reviews that we're looking at.
So I saw it in IMAX, Gaz. Did you do the same?
I didn't know. I just saw it in the standard.
Well, that's
3D.
one thing we can compare. Gaz saw it in standard definition. I saw it in IMAX. So the visuals were quite impressive. I just put the ticker banner below the bottom. So Furiosa's out now in theaters. Go see that. I don't think it's done quite as well as expected, Gaz. If I'm not mistaken, it was a $168 million budget. And they were expecting 40 mil opening weekend, and last I saw it was only at 10. Doesn't surprise me that much. Anya Taylor-Joy, I can obviously take her or leave her performance. It felt very much like an insert Furiosa here. I know Mr. H and others have said they thought she did well. So that, you know, if I'm off on that, or I'm not on base with the sci-fi action Mad Max community, you could
No, it's your opinion, man.
You can feel free to roast me in the live chat or the comment section. That's why we do it with you guys. I mean, if you're more impressed than I was, that's fine. Chris Hemsworth's Dementis, pretty good for Chris Hemsworth. I mean, I'm not like a massive like Chris Hemsworth fanatic. I'm not a big Thor guy. I haven't even I think I've seen half of the first Thor movie, which was actually way better than what I expected, you know what I mean? Because as you guys know, with me in the MCU, I'm not like the MCU guy. I don't think either of us are at this point. I mean, I think Gaz and I both kind of started off watching them,
Used
and
to
then
be.
as they drifted into like PG-13, like subparness, we kind of drifted off of those. But I'm 50-50 on I'm working. Just thought I'd drop in. Thank you, Cat Daddy. Appreciate you, bro.
Peace,
Go see
Cat.
Furiosa if you haven't. If you're into Post-Apocalyptic, again, no Fury Road, but we're gonna break down what's good, what's bad. Chris has always been 50-50, take or leave for me. I like his Extraction series, and then his Thor is, it's kind of mediocre MCU PG-13 as I think we would all say. But I think he obviously has the potential, guys. Would you agree with that?
He does. Just coming in on Anna Taylor-Joy, my buddy is the same as you. He is still saying, when we come out of the theatre last night and today, he said, I still don't know if she quite had it for me, if she had that presence and convincing. And I can see where it's come from. I'm going to have to behave until we get to this near the end. She certainly has a moment where I think she comes into it. It does feel kind of a little substitute Mad Max Fury Road, where he has hardly any dialogue for the first half of that movie. We kind of see that with young Furiosa and a Taylor-Joy. And I'm going to have to behave myself so we can get through this in a chronological order.
100%, yeah. So, and then, and just, I liked Dementis. Quite frankly, I think Immortan Joe is the best
sorry,
Mad
I
Max.
forgot to answer your question.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say, Chris Hemsworth. I thought he very camp performance, actually, very theatrical, very over the top, which made it entertaining. Has one of the moments of the movie, which we'll get to later. So obviously his character's not a nice dude at all, but you couldn't help laugh at, I'll say, some of his tantrums.
Yeah, his dialogue is super funny. I mean, that's like, that's what everyone said. It's like, he obviously enjoyed the performance, but at the same time, it fits the character. Immortan Joe, I think, is the best Mad Max villain of all time. It's really difficult to have Mad Max villains after Immortan Joe because rest in peace to Hugh Keays-Byrne. He is not only Immortan Joe in Fury Road, he's also Toe Cutter in Mad Max 1. So given that he has this pedigree, he's the only actor with a pedigree attachment to both franchises. It just, and then I think he's an excellent actor on top of that. Like he kind of sets the precedent for what a Mad Max villain should be, given that he plays the first lead villain in the first movie, sets it all off, kind of the antithesis to what Max is, and then he plays it again in Fury Road. So you do have a young Immortan Joe in this. I always like to see Immortan Joe's story arc. To see where he takes it and, kind of where he goes with it. Quite frankly, that being said, I could have used more Immortan Joe in this film because how they sparingly used him in the trailer, I'm thinking like, okay, they're going to show how Furiosa becomes a Praetorian, blah, blah, blah. So, like, you're going to be seeing... And I guess I would have to have you guys agree with me after you see it because he is in quite a few scenes, but it still left me wanting more Joe.
But that's possible. Particularly because, to be honest, I feel he stole the attention anytime he was in the movie. He was the best actor in the entire movie for me.
Agreed. And the thing is, so rest in peace to Hugh Keays-Byrne. This is actually not Hugh Keays-Byrne playing much like Anya Taylor-Joy plays the younger Furiosa. This Immortan Joe is played by Lachi Hume, who I'm not familiar with. I'm sure he's an Australian actor again. The thing about Mad Max movies, guys, there's like 50 characters in this movie. So if we miss somebody, or there's like hundreds of actors in this movie, you know what I mean? So it's very easy to overlook something, and I do have more on that later. But yeah, that kind of covers the major characters. The only other kind of, I guess, new standout character I'd say, Gaz, who I was impressed with, Praetorian Jack. Thought he had a good performance.
Was that Mr. Madmax Sensei who was riding in the rig
Yes.
with her? Yeah. I kept calling him Madmax Sensei. You'll see why, folks. You'll see why.
Yeah. I thought he didn't do anything overly impressive, but he played his role well, and as far as the combat sequences, he got it done.
Yeah. I'm going to say it now. He's kind of like he's like a substitute Mad Max who can offer words of wisdom and training to Furiosa, crossed with a bit of Ash from Evil Dead, actually. Even his looks. That's pretty much him. But he's not a bad character, but he doesn't kind of jump out at you. But he's probably one of the next most memorable ones, I guess.
He's just in the mix, but again, you're talking about a movie with 50 characters. I mean, just Immortan Joe's crew alone has 10 guys in it. Demetrius's probably has 5 in it. So, and then like Furiosa rolls with her crew. So yeah, it's very convoluted. So just the only other thing I would say in addition to that is like the pacing is way off, and I've seen other reviews. I don't know if it was New York Times or Vanity Fair that wrote like kind of the big article, and towards the end of the film, I'm not gonna lie, it does become unfocused compared to Fury Road. I don't know if that, because George Miller writes this with 2 other writers, so I don't know. I'd hate to put it on George. Maybe that's input from those other 2 writers that he writes with. I did find it becoming unfocused towards the conclusion, the climax, and at the end of Act 3. But we'll start with right off the beginning. The colorization, the setup, the expansion of the Mad Max universe, which is definitely interesting and impressive. I much prefer, Gaz and I have really only talked about this once or twice, so it's not like we've had some in-depth Furiosa conversation. They introduce some biker, kind of, what would you call them, Gaz? They're kind of like scouts.
Scouts,
from Dementis's faction, the biker horde, which is all they all have Harley choppers, and these guys have speed bikes, but Dementis and the rest of the guys ride Harley choppers. If that's some sort of information that you need to understand this movie, which you don't. It focuses on them. They got the grimy kind of wastelander masks, guys. I like that jumpy pace of their movement, of how they turned around with the fast kind of scrappy action that we were talking about when young Furiosa first encounters them. And I felt after that scene, after the chase out of the forest into the wasteland, somewhere along the line they lost that pace, and then George kind of switched up the pace to a more real-time type thing, but I thought that was working the best when the way they turned around with their masks and how they kind of lunged at her with the lungy kind of pacing. That really had my attention as we got in, but I felt that it was lost halfway through,
that was a good way of hooking the audience, like with some of the OG Mad Max movies where the camera pans out and you see the shoot on the road happening, some action.
Cinematography.
That was a good way. The cinematography was definitely great. I like that kind of as you said, scramble, someone's after us, who is it, kind of stop start. That was good, and it was a good way of hooking in the audience. Even the way it starts, the opening of the movie, where you hear the score from Fury Road again, that was good. Got a little bit of a brief narration. So early on, I'll be honest,
it's a good
early on I thought, okay, this is going to be better than I thought. And I was excited, I was pumped. I'm like, I'm ready for this. And it does that on that introduction in that first action scene.
I would agree with Gaz. I would say I think the first act is probably my favorite part of the movie. That chase up until spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Furiosa, you're planning on watching it, we're going to do our best to avoid them, but we do need to talk plot elements. So pause or leave or come back, but make sure you like and share before you do any of that stuff. The chase up and basically from the Green Place to Dementis's camp. The only thing about it, though, is like we got to talk, plot elements and realism, because this is something Gaz and I always focus on. Like, and I know Gaz is kind of fixated on this stuff the way I am. When she hits the alert whistle and they sound the sirens at the Green Place, only her mom and that other Vuvolini go and chase, and then she gives her the bike. So you just said that not one can survive, or they're going to go tell the entire camp about the Green Place. But even though you guys alerted your own encampment, you didn't send enough backup to, because at what there was what so she disables a couple bikes, and I think there's like still 3 or 4 of them at that point, and yet you only take one person with basically a bolt action rifle to take out the rest of, you know what I mean? So right off the rip, it's like, dude, if even one of those guys escapes, you know, they made such a big deal about it, he's gonna go alert the camp, you know, and then what's stopping the entire horde from coming, you know what I mean? So I felt that could have been fleshed out better, but again.
Yeah, at the very least, they would have sent a scouting party with at least a minimal 6 of them to pursue them, just in case she did get taken out.
That's what I was thinking.
You know, so you've got the backup there, or they could have even split it off. You've got one small group pursuing them, and then they send a smaller side group to flank them.
That even makes more sense. I mean, if you were that concerned about, hey, if one person, you know, alerts them, you know, our camp is over. But like Gaz said, I think you would send at least as many as were in that initial scout party, because you, at the very least, want it even, you know? Like the Volvolini, okay, they're super capable fighters, they're marksmen, they're all of that, but she's not really wearing any armor, you know, so there's like, if she gets into, you know, melee hand-to-hand with them, it's like, you really got to see something special, you know what I mean? And then the only other one with her is Furiosa, who's a, you know, whatever she is, 15 or 12 or 13-year-old girl or whatever. So, but I did really like how the bikers were hacking up the horse meat, and how when one of them would die, they would scavenge the like weapons off them right away. Like that, like I said, the pacing of that initial fight was epic. And of course it does have a transition into nighttime. So once again, I think, you know, his colorization was one thing I told Gaz recently is Gaz watched Fury Road in preparation for this. I actually watched the Fury Road Black and Chrome edition, which is something I've been talking about on here. So if you guys want us to review Fury Road in addition to this, I think Gaz has it as a PXF classic anyway, so it's pretty much on the list for the backlog. But that's something I could compare, you know, the Black and Chrome edition, and that's I would say that's kind of similar to these Furiosa night scenes, because for those who don't know, the Black and Chrome edition of Fury Road is essentially the entire movie silver. So you think of all that white out in the Fury Road desert, that all just becomes white, and then all the colors become black and gray and chrome, which is an interesting watch, you know, definitely gives it a different feel. And it's quite similar to some of the colorization in these Furiosa night scenes in the Wasteland, of which there's several. So we get to the camp, we're introduced to Dementis, his you know, henchman, the history man, interesting character, Gaz, the guy who knows, you know, all the facts about the past.
Yeah, Post-Apocalyptic Merlin again. Yeah, that was good, and I liked as well. Just before you get inside Dementis's camp, when you see the panoramic view of all the bikes outside, that was nice. In fact, like you said, this whole first act is fine. The problem is when we'll get to that.
Yeah, just like other films, it just becomes focused as it goes on, unfocused as it goes on. So it's spoiler alert, it's Furiosa's mom. You should know that from the trailer, to be honest. But she gets a scout biker's mask. A sandstorm comes into the camp. This is not unlike the Dune. So, you know, any desert movie is going to have these sandstorm scenes, right? It's a bit of a trope, but it always works, right? So she sneaks into the camp to rescue Furiosa. You know, she's dressed as one of them, obviously, in the sandstorm, and yeah, we don't really need to go too much into, like, obviously, you know, from the trailer that Furiosa's captured and obviously raised in captivity. We could go into the realism of her mom telling her to run away, and obviously the harp string that they're pulling on is like, if your mom gets, you know, captured and tortured and killed in front of you, it's going to be easier to, you know, capture you as a child, which is spoiler if you like, but it's fairly obvious from watching the trailer or reading the back of the movie. And then, so it essentially follows Furiosa's young life under Dementis, and then later at the Citadel. And then at a certain point, it just kind of shifts into the older Furiosa, which is Anya Taylor-Joy playing her. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just from there on out, like it's like the Furiosa when she becomes a Black Thumb at the Citadel. You know, so a couple things, like when they do the deal, Dementis surrounds Gastown. So the three big, you know, wasteland fortresses are obviously the Citadel. You've seen it in Fury Road, so it's not new. Gastown, and the bullet farmer place where they, you know, kind of melt, or whatever you want to call that, press the brass bullet shells. So those are the three major fortress factions. Dementis, as Gaz and I were saying, he first goes to, he's led to the Citadel by a war boy who's lost in the Wastelander. That dude was hilarious, by the way, Gaz. He's in the Am I in Valhalla sequence. I thought that dude was really funny, really entertaining. He was just kind of a lower level war boy. That leads to a face-off with Dementis at the Citadel. So Dementis is obviously looking for the place of abundance that his scouts found, but because the wasteland is so vast, they can't find it. They end up running into a lost war boy instead. That leads them to the Citadel. That sets up the first face-off between Dementis' biker horde and Immortan Joe's war boy army in the Citadel. It's actually pretty brief. They just kind of go back and forth on the microphones, a la Road Warrior style, like Humongous. And the war boys essentially attack them. You know that Immortan Joe's not going to just let them in, give them the water, right? That's fairly obvious. So that sets up basically a rivalry between Dementis' crew and Immortan Joe's crew. So there's some stuff there. Another thing I noticed, Gaz, is a lot of those scenes from the trailer, like those Dementis lines, were very like brief scenes. You know, like I expected them to have like kind of more substance to them, and it seemed like they were just kind of like these clippy kind of clickbait lines to like pull you in for this. You know, like when I watched it in the trailer, I'm like, oh, something probably really intense is happening in that scene, and then you watch the scene and they're just a couple minute scenes. You know, like that, I thought that was odd. You know. Yeah,
it's a shout out, my buddy. Who was with me last night when I watched it, he said he felt it was like a tune up to Fury Road, that this could have been put on Fury Road as the first hour, then the Fury Road movie, and I said, it could have really
it even probably could have been an anime prequel or something. Yeah. You know, I don't know that it required a live action movie, especially one not, what up Slipknot, check out Furiosa if you haven't seen it yet, especially not a 2.5 hour one, because although Gaz and I said the fight scenes are good, the action scenes are good, although you've seen quite a bit of the choreography from Fury Road already. You know what I mean? I don't know it really brought anything super different to the table, other than expanding the environment and more.
Don't get me wrong, as we'll explain, folks. It's not a terrible movie. It's still a decent movie, but it promises a lot, doesn't quite deliver in some areas, and the action scenes, they're not bad, but they feel more like skirmishes. There's one particularly good scene, which I think this happens in Act 2, which I'll wait till we get to that moment when I talk about it, but it's a standout scene, and that's a problem. It just feels like skirmishes, and Ross alluded to something when Dementis' biker horde arrive at the Citadel, there's Immortan Joe's war boy army. So right there, you as the viewer are thinking there is going to be a big massive battle later on. I'm going to see this huge biker horde going across the wastelands, all the war boy, and I thought, man, this is what I've come for. And this is the big problem with the entire movie, is as we'll get to.
Why would you not get that? It's such an obvious thing. Like I feel like George tried to do the thing where like he sets it up for what you expect, and then he kind of circumnavigates around it to get kind of like give you a twist, if you will, although there's no real twist in this movie. The other thing about Immortan Joe and the War Boys. So what happens is, because Dementis' offer is rejected, like he's like, hey, if you guys don't, give us what we want, we're going to surround your Citadel and overwhelm you. The thing is, the Citadel's impenetrable because you can't just walk up there. They have to give you the access, and then they're protected with the high ground. So you really can't siege it, certainly not with Harley-Davidson motor choppers, Get up, Slipknot. I would watch Fury Road first, and then, if you feel that you need to see Furiosa, you can cross that bridge at that time. So because of Dementis is rejected there, also they almost capture Furiosa during that skirmish because they have the hooks that they pull stuff up with. But Dementis has her chained to his arm, so he's able to pull her back. So that's kind of really the only thing that happens there. Because of that, Dementis goes to Gastown because he knows Immortan Joe's war rig gasses up at Gastown. So they ultimately come up with the plan to kind of raid that, and then they come up with a plot to infiltrate the gas town. Do you have anything more on that, guys? Or
the plot, I knew that was going to happen. Look, I'm guessing being super nitpicky here. It's kind of predictable how I'll just say they managed to make it look convincing. That action scene is really well done, though. The striking thing with this movie definitely is the cinematography, the shots.
Colorization,
that is
editing.
one. Yeah, definitely great when we see the war rig there.
Good sound too. Really
shots.
Good sound. I mean, Fury Road has amazing music and sound. So
yeah.
Most of it carries over. It's just there's so much narrative story and there's so much plot and it's so long, which is not what Fury Road is. Fury Road is just one fight. You know exactly what you're going to get. The Fury Road commute, you know?
Exactly. So, this is a problem we'll get to. But no, nothing much really other than I thought it was very well shot.
Yeah, so I'll break it down for him. So Dementis, obviously a wasteland warlord. He's obviously, highwaymen, brigadiers. He's obviously, and they have the Harley Davidson heavy motorcycle choppers, as we said. So they're obviously well versed in how to raid convoys and supply runs and how to do that. So when Morton's gas truck comes out of Gastown, they obviously raid it, they take it down, they get the gas for their horde. Obviously goes without saying, so they come up with the spoiler alert. If you guys haven't seen Furiosa, feel free to skip. It's impossible to talk about the movie without going through these elements. So they come up with the idea to infiltrate Gastown using Immortan Joe's war rig. So, and I did think this was a pretty clever idea. I like where they went with this, guys. So Dementis has his guys, he makes the white powder makeup mix, and then he has enough of his guys cover themselves, a la infiltrating war boys, a war boy disguise, if you will. So as they turn the truck around and they come back in to drive it into Gastown, they essentially feign that it's the Immortan Joe's war rig war boys under attack by Dementis's biker horde. But I don't even remember this guy's name, guys, but whoever was in charge of Gastown, the warlord captain there, propped up by Immortan Joe, he's watching it. He sees that, they're not really hitting each other, so he knows, something's off, it's a fake skirmish. So I do have this point, guys, when Dementis tells him, hey, make it real, shoot him for real. So Dementis actually starts shooting his own guys and killing them to see if they can get Gastown to open the gate to get the war rig inside, and then obviously it's full of Dementis' troops, Trojan horse rather, it's full of Dementis' troops to get the gate open. That one dude with the black cloak that had all the swords on his, they hyped that guy up like he was going to be some epic Assassin's Secret character.
Yeah, you didn't.
I want to say I never saw him again for the rest of the movie. Where did that guy go? Did you and your boy say that? Where did that guy go?
This is a problem, right?
Where did that guy go?
So Ross has just broke it down there. I tried to not go into spoilers. I think I'm just going to have to go into spoilers, as Ross has rightly said, and not worry about that for once. I thought this whole scene was predictable. No getting away, to make that convincing.
Little cliche.
To get in there.
But there's no other way in, so
but okay, I said there, thought, okay, fair enough. And then, yes, the post-Apoc Trojan horse moment where Dementis' dudes are getting out of the truck once they get in there. Well, here's the thing. You've got that guy look, he's got one of those ridiculous outfits that you see in the Madmax movies, they say the double swords, exaggerated black feathers and stuff like that, and you're like, man, I can't wait to see this guy.
Thought he was going to do something.
Get into it, and he doesn't. He kind of, from what I remember, he's more or less, that wasn't cool. What you just did is something. Right, I'm going to go off and sulk and maybe get my boys together, and I don't know, maybe we're going to go.
So was he?
Get him a squash.
Was he supposed to be a fortifier, and then that was why the fortifiers split off? Because if so, they didn't explain that.
Do you know what? I think so, because you see them later, and they say
fortifiers wear a different.
They're no longer with them, because there's that moment where they go to rub on the war boy paint that they use, and the guy just is like, no, I won't do what you tell me, Dementis. And then he looks to that dude and he says, right, captain. It's okay, do it.
So those are the fortifiers. Yeah. Because for him to say, you're scum, Dementis, scum, you just insulted the warlord of your faction, and we already seen what Dementis has done to everybody else, throughout the movie so far. We know he has no conscience. Yeah. So for you to be a dude, questioning Dementis' authority, right, in a wasteland horde, you figure, but so I figure you were gonna see. I thought he was some sort of elite assassin, like a Boba Fett, and that guy literally did nothing for the rest of the movie. And I'm thinking, okay, well, he just questioned Dementis' authority, so either that sets up a rivalry between them two, or that guy gets in some crazy fight later on. Never see him for the rest of the movie. And then to Gaz's point, I think it would have been better if they switched it up, like when Dementis said, like, shoot them for real, and then the dude was like, okay, let him in. First of all, that's just Immortan Joe's war rig anyway, so it's not like that's part of your faction, you know what I mean? That's still another faction. Yeah, you guys have a resource alliance, but that's it, right? So what they should have did was they should have had him, like, not open the gate, and then they should have had him, like, crash, you know, like, find another way in is what I'm saying. Instead of doing the predictable thing that Gaz said, which is, don't open the gate. Oh, wait. Oh, no, it's real. Open the gate. It's like, bro, you would never do that. Like Gaz said, you would never. Why would you risk your entire fortress's resource on that? It makes zero sense. I'm sorry. It's nitpicky. I'm sorry.
No. Man. I'm with you.
Maybe
from a fan's point of view, to make this entertaining on screen, it would have been nice. I'm going to say it now. This alludes to our big problem with this movie, as we'll get to. Maybe it'd have been nice to get something more than the skirmish. That we could have perhaps had a full-on battle at that early scene with the have to take Gas Town. We actually see something involving more than 10 people.
Freaking Dementis' later Gastown collapse with his own troops versus himself was a bigger skirmish than that. And that was his own guys versus each other. That was his own guys versus each other, and that was a bigger skirmish than this. So it just, there's not really a whole lot of consistency with the battles, as Gaz was saying. I'm not too much, sure that, of course, they introduced the bullet farmer, and then the big plot is just Praetorian Jack running his supply runs between Gastown and the bullet farmer and the Citadel. That's kind of all of Act 2, right? And then it tracks Furiosa's rise as a Black Thumb to Praetorian Jack's kind of secondary and doing the supply run. But other than that, at that point, there's really not much else other than the fortifier fight later on, the fortifiers versus Praetorian Jack and Furiosa. Interesting fight. I do like the use of the parasails and the what were those things? The hand gliders. Some interesting air vehicles.
I was going to say that was probably one of the standout action scenes in the entire movie for me. That part, apart from another scene involving Madmax Sensei, aka the character's name, Praetorian Jack, aka Madmax Sensei. If you see Furiosa, you'll know why I'm saying that, guys.
I liked him.
That was cool. Again, still a bit more like a skirmish, but it was cool, well shot, well orchestrated.
They had the crane on the rig. They did some new stuff. They had the turret.
Can't fault that, but this is when we are coming into the slowdown where, man, it's a slow burn for a Mad Max movie. And only picks up again when we kind of see that scene in Bullet Town, which we'll get to.
The bombing knocker, they got the bombing knocker on the back of the war rig. So they definitely, the violence is there, the fights are there. Of course, I love the War Boys. So it's all there. It's very good fight choreography. As Gaz and I said, I don't know that it's anything different that you saw on Fury Road, because you already know how the supply runs go. It's not even that much different from Road Warrior, to be honest with you. It's just conceptually, you know what I mean? Fury Road is essentially a page out of Road Warrior, just done up with more. And then also, we haven't really mentioned it, Gaz, but heavier reliance on CGI in Furiosa versus Fury Road.
And it's not. Do you think it made it look a little choppy in parts for that reason?
I think it looked a little choppy in parts, I'd hate to say. I mean, I watched it on IMAX, which should be the cleanest, highest level presentation, right? And still, some of the movement just felt, we'll go into it more, ultimately. So that second act essentially follows Praetorian Jack, who's the big deal. As that's happening, Dementis has mismanaged Gastown, so that creates dissent involving how he's running Gastown, which is what causes the fortifiers to what's the word for that? Leave his pretty much they leave his faction. He can't keep it in control, which is set up from that one fortifier dude calling him scum in the fight before that we said. Which again, you'd have to be really paying attention to what they're wearing to know that dude was a fortified, because it's Mad Max, it's Furiosa, guys. Not everything is walking you through like, other like Marvel movies where they give you like a paragraph like explaining everything that happened. Like George Miller doesn't roll that way. It's just everything is action based, So Praetorian Jack, he gets the gas from Gastown. Dementis tells him he wants a meeting with Joe in 3 days. Because of that, they know that Dementis is planning to attack the Citadel or whatever he's planning to retaliate. And so they get the Bullet Farmer to help. Now I wasn't really sure like Immortan Joe's strategy made sense for this, guys. For what they wanted to do to like, they kind of wanted to like set a trap for him, which kind of worked, but like Dementis was ready for it, right?
Yeah, he was, and that's and it's and again it's teasing you because you think you're going to see this and you don't. You get the post-apoc Merlin dude arrive again, who goes on, "Oh, war's always been here," blah 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 blah. And then you're given this kind of montage of this, well, almost looks like a cutscene from a game where they say, right, here's the 40-day wasteland war, and you see. Yeah,
so we're not quite at that. I have a major problem with the editing decision. And George Miller, you're my man. I hope nobody from Miller's cast or crew or Furiosa sees this or hold me accountable, because I do have a major problem with that. But let's just get to so Morton Joe sends a decoy convoy to basically, hey, let's make it look like we're going to Gastown. But instead, they have this plan to send Praetorian Jack to Bullet Town.
Now I'm aware. Yeah.
Load up. We'll get right to the 40-day war after this. So they send him to Bullet Town to load up on shells for the war. So, but when they get there, Dementis has already taken Bullet Town and set a trap for him already, which semi-predictable, guys. I mean, as soon as he drove in, it was empty. You knew the Bullet Farmer wasn't there.
Yeah, it is. This is probably the best action sequence in the movie. This part here.
I would say destruction-wise, but although, like, as Gas said, skirmish-wise, hand-to-hand, kill count, it still left me wanting more. Because they try to jump Jack right away. Furiosa has the dune buggy thing. I think they called it the Valiant. Each vehicle had its own name. So again, if you want to go deep into the lore, it's Mad Max. You certainly can. The War Rig, the Valiant, the Inceptor, blah blah blah, Interceptor. So she gets cut off from the gate.
Yeah.
So Jack is in there. He's got the pump action rifle. So Jack is just offing people. Furiosa is helping him. Jack got her a sick sawed-off shotgun for the Bullet Farmer as a gift. That's obviously the nod to Mad Max. It's the weapon Mad Max uses in the trilogy. So they obviously a Mad Max trope, using that thing in the wasteland. Obviously, like, not a very practical gun for the wasteland, guys, because you only get one shot. It's double-barreled. You got to reload every time, but that's Mad Max, right? So she's helping cover him through the gate. He essentially gets blocked in there. You see Dementis has one of those pit bulls or whatever. He has his dogs, and one of them has the prosthetic arm. So when you see, you saw that in Gastown when they were chewing on the guys who used to run Gastown, and the same thing. That's pretty much how Dementis's scenes are introduced. His presence whenever he is coming or sets up an ambush. He usually has his dogs like chewing on whoever Dementis just killed, and that's like, if you don't know that's Dementis's dog at that point, you were demented, because it showed the dogs 50 times in the movie. So it's like, it's foreshadowing, but it's very obvious foreshadowing. So they attempt to jump Praetorian Jack to take out the War Rig. He's like the sickest driver in Immortan Joe's army. So he's avoiding them. He's doing the back and front. He's trying to, he smashes the flamethrower on the gate. He's trying to get out of there. And that's when Dementis and his boys are up on the brick tower with the RPG rocket launcher. Furiosa has the sniper rifle. She has them pinned down. I don't know, though. Like, I know what you mean, guys, because, like, it was cool seeing the towers, like, the destruction of the whole quarry was interesting, but, like, there was also something kind of off pace, I thought, about the action sequence. And maybe I'm nitpicking. I'll throw my hands up, guys.
Yeah, I think it's because I'm only saying it's probably one of the standout action scenes in the movie, apart from Furiosa's Mad Max moment, I guess, which we'll get to in the final act.
Yeah.
Because you've been given this promise that something big is coming, that there's going to be this huge engagement, that we are going to see the big battle, and it never comes. This is the whole problem with the movie. I'm going to say it now, I was going to wait. That's a problem. You don't see it. It's just kind of glossing over it. So
just real quick, for a 2.5 hour movie, the fact that they couldn't give us that battle, it's like, bro, with previews, this movie's 3 hours long. Well, cut out some filler and add the freaking war.
It promises you that from the start. When Dementus is there with his biker horde, it kind of sets up, look, these two are going to have an engagement because they are vying for control of the wastelands. Dementus wants to control the wastelands, and he's often too busy having breakdowns throughout the movie, throwing tantrums while his own crew are fighting each other. And so I'm nitpicking. I'll say it like this as a wrestling way of putting it, and I'm going to upset all the WWE fanboys. And no, I'm not an AEW fanboy because they all suck. They all suck at the moment. It's like watching WWE or even AEW at this point and cherry picking the good points, skipping everything. Oh well, that scene was okay, so that's okay. I like this part, so that's why. Look, this is still a decent movie. It's still good. I still enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong, but that's why I picked that scene at Bullet Town, because that's the closest we kind of got to anything like that.
Don't get me wrong, there's good stuff in there, guys.
I was going to say, but I know do you feel the way, and spoiler alert here, folks, when you know the ambush is coming and the way he starts using the rifle, it's almost as if we're watching like a SWAT unit for that moment, that it's a little too clean and too accurate? Or am I nitpicking myself there?
I could see both sides. I mean, that didn't occur to me on my first watch. I mean, the other point I would make, guys, is I'm just going to be honest. I don't think Furiosa has the replayability that Fury Road has. If I watched Furiosa a second time, I think I would have the whole movie down, and I probably wouldn't watch it a third. Where I've seen Fury Road probably 20 times, and I've seen every version of it. So, not even remotely in the same space. And also, as Gaz said, is skirmish to battle ratio as far as pacing. Whereas Fury Road is one long battle for the entire movie. Like Gaz said, Furiosa is simply just a series of small skirmishes that move the plot along. So like you've already engorged yourself on the Thanksgiving dinner that is Fury Road that gave you everything that you needed. And when you're waiting for Furiosa to hit that apex that Fury Road gives you very early on, as Gaz said, it never really comes. The other point, Gaz, now this movie was very long, guys. I drank a beer in the beginning, so I did need to go relieve myself. So I might have missed something. That part in the trailer when Dementus is hanging on to the thing and all the shells are pouring over him, I didn't see that. Did you see that scene?
Yeah.
So it wasn't a gas tank.
It wasn't a gas town. It's when that big massive like chimney stack is going over, and then all the bullets come out, and Dementus is like scrambling on the end of it. As you see in the trailer, literally, if you've seen it in the trailer, you've seen that scene more or less. Yeah.
Which is crazy because I was looking out for it for the whole movie, then I missed it. But I saw the tower falling. I just didn't see the part with the falling shells. So anyway, I missed a couple things, guys. My bad. It's a 2.5 hour movie. I'm not exactly Francis Ford Coppola, so I'll give it a second watch when I get around to it. Probably when it goes to streaming or whatever. So so Immortan Joe sends the fake decoy, you know what I mean? That essentially amounts to that, and pretty much what that comes down to is Furiosa and Immortan Joe. Furiosa has this long journey where she makes it back to the Citadel. I guess we'll spoil this because I don't care at this point. Praetorian Jack so it's the mountain chase. So Furiosa essentially gets Jack out of the gas town. She's about to leave. He tells her to leave. She's about to, but they're trying to give her like a Madmax conscious, Gaz, and if she's a more battle-hardened character than what Madmax is, mind you, Madmax is the former police officer who is turned rogue wastelander because his family is killed in front of him, and you're supposed to believe that Furiosa is harder than him because she comes from the last, good town in the wasteland, and then she's raised in captivity. So I'm wondering, like, with her edge, like, why does it keep showing her having this conscience? Well, it's obviously because her mother and her original tribe raised her with, human values. But if you spend 20, 30 years of your life in the wasteland and someone's trapped in that fortress, like, how much, like, I felt that was another, conflicted moment where you've been trying to get back home this entire movie and you just had the chance right there, but because Jack mentored you, you just risked your life to save him. And what happens? Go ahead, I'll let you in and then I'll break down.
The reason they were doing that was not just for them, they were blatantly setting it up as a love interest as well, that something was going to spark between them. They have that little moment in the Citadel, touching their heads together. Then where you're about to get to, what the hell I'm going to say, where they get captured, and Dementus has them there captured, and they pretty much then turn to each other, they have an embrace, put the forwards on. So they're setting it up as a love interest. That's why she's asked him to go with her to the place of abundance.
Sure.
So that was why I think they were just trying to put a human edge in there, I guess, with what you said. But on the other side, sorry, I just saw.
You're going to lead the horde back to the green place for the second time in the movie? Come on. Can we have some sort of consistency?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what the mainstream articles were talking about when they called Furiosa unfocused. Compared to Fury Road, it just is. So, Dementus drives the monster truck, which is actually sick. We haven't introduced it yet. So, they're like, Dementus, we got to get the gate down, blah, blah, blah. He's like, there's no time. So he smashes it. He smashes through the gate. They go on the mountain chase scene. It's essentially the mountain chase scene, which has some really good cinematography. This is the scene in the trailer where the dune buggy kind of does that 180 move and kicks up the sand, which also looks very CGI-y, at least less good desert CGI than is in Dune Part 2. And they ultimately catch them. You already know what Dementus is going to do. Actually, real quick, that other one when I'm going to do a callback here. When young Furiosa was in captivity and Dementus chased down that other rogue faction and he made them all fight to the death, which is supposedly like, what he does. Like, it's the whole like lady and gentlemen's, blah, blah, blah. It's from essentially the trailer from the moment from the trailer. Again, I felt that was very rushed, and it was almost like the lines were just shot to use them in the trailer. Like most of those trailer scenes were right in the beginning of the movie, and I always find that weird when they're like, okay, I guess they used that because it was early footage. I never quite. And then how intense it looked in the trailer, I'm expecting it to be this elongated, intense scene, and it's just very Dementus in and out. Yeah. Did you get that same feeling?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what I was meaning. The parts with doesn't seem to quite be strung together.
Yeah, 100%. That's how I felt. Just inconsistent pacing. So similar thing. He does the callback. He strings up Praetorian Jack to the back of the bike, and they drag him around. He lets his dogs loose on him. Eventually, Dementus gets bored. He's kind of drinking, right? The dude gives him the flasks. He's just kind of torturing him, drinking. Dementus gets bored. Furiosa crushed her arm in the car chase on the way here, broke her arm. That's why you see her obviously with the mechanical prosthetic. So this is where, as Gaz was just saying, it's like end of Act 2, halfway through Act 2, maybe. This is when it becomes unfocused, from here to the end of the film. So you think you're going to get this epic mechanical arm origin for Furiosa because it was so prominently featured in Fury Road. And does that moment come, Gaz?
Not really, other than one brief scene, and it's nothing particularly...
Pretty average, pretty mediocre scene. She basically plugs in her arm and turns it on. How big of a deal they made about it in the trailer with showing her arm stub and then later on showing her with the arm kicking all this ass. You thought it was going to be this, kind of like Army of Darkness, like Gaz always says. I'll take that one there, and they zoom up on the glove, and then like they do the thing of him constructing it. If Army of Darkness can have that impact, making a mechanical hand, or Luke Skywalker in Empire Strikes Back, I really expected more from that because they make Furiosa has this prosthetic mechanical arm. That's why she's a badass, and she walked into a shop, took it off a junk pile, plugged it in, and turned it on. That's I'm not So that was just, I thought, mediocre. I thought that was a missed opportunity. We could talk about her escape from Dementus back to the Citadel.
Yeah.
So Dementus has all his circling soldiers kick up the dust, and he strings up Furiosa by her broken arm. When it goes down, the arm is just hanging there. So that's how Dementus knows she's escaped. So they try to. I think she gets away on a bike. I forgot.
Yeah, she does. Yeah.
Okay, so that's that. She makes it back. She ultimately. Oh, okay. So there's a very key cameo here, and I'm gonna spoil this. I don't care about the internet. There's way bigger channels that have already put this out like 4 months ago ahead of us. So she passes out in the desert, and this is what I was asking you guys, because they made this ambiguous, right? They zoom up to a hillside, dude in a leather jacket, interceptor parked on a hill, dude from the back, kind of drinking his water, flask, his water pouch. Didn't show his dog with him. I would have liked to have seen.
No, it didn't. It didn't.
I would have liked to have seen him with the dog, just because it's Madmax dog.
Maybe the dog was busy off talking to someone barking in protest to say, can we actually see a full-on future movie for Madmax?
He was lobbying. Madmax and dog, kind of like Deadpool and Wolverine. So she passes out on her escape. It shows a guy in an interceptor in a leather jacket watching from a hill. If you've been watching the films, you should know who that is. There's only one character in the franchise that drives the interceptor. So what I was thinking was, it would make a lot more sense that he picked her up where she passed out and dropped her off at the Citadel. Although it didn't show that. It's off. It's an off-camera moment. So
no, it didn't. As you said, it left it open for us to speculate. But yes, 100.
Yeah, that's how I prefer it to go. You guys can. You guys can determine what you think happened, or it could be interesting if Miller ever makes a statement on it to explain it. Or also, Miller said that the other prequel is Mad Max's story. I guess, spoiler if you like, but when the director says it, I don't really consider it as such. That he has the entire story of Mad Max's lead up to Fury Road. So that's the crossover moment right there. I would like to see it from Max's perspective. This whole thing.
That's all cool, but as long as there's supposed to be 2 new movies coming, isn't it? As long as one of them actually will be a full Mad Max movie and all, and before anyone gets their panties in a twist out, this guy just like Furiosa, female character.
It's not that. It's not that. Quite frankly, I think between the 2 performances, I think Charlize has the better one. That's just my opinion.
Agreed. We just want to see.
It's not a bad character.
A full-on Mad Max movie with more Mad Max getting his moment.
I have 2 points on this. Given what Gaz just said, what I would like to see is the Mad Max prequel story. This is Furiosa's lead up to Fury Road. I want to see Mad Max's lead up to Fury Road, and then imagine if they did Mad Max after Fury Road. Yeah. So imagine if they did Max after Fury Road. So then you get Max's prequel before Fury Road, and then what Max did after to make it a complete trilogy. Now that would be sick, right?
Well, let's hope that's what they do. Let's actually hope that's what they do.
I don't know what they're doing. I'm not George Miller, guys. I can't tell you what the guy wrote in his notes. But as a fan, and as you can see, clearly a fanboy, I would like a war boy, a fanboy. Get it? Witness me. So I would like to see that. The other thing I thought would have been interesting, guys, is what. Deadpool and Wolverine is coming out, which I just mentioned. What Ryan Reynolds said that that movie was like an early version of what Deadpool and Wolverine was. Like, you've seen Rashomon, Gaz, I assume?
Yeah.
So Reynolds said that the early script of Deadpool and Wolverine was Rashomon style. It was like their journey together, and then it would tell each perspective. Like, it would tell it from Deadpool's perspective and then tell it from Wolverine's perspective.
Yeah, nice.
When Reynolds said that, I think that actually would have worked for Furiosa. I think it would have been sick to see it from Furiosa's perspective and then see it from Max's perspective. Now, I don't want to see everything use the Rashomon concept, but I think it would have worked. I
think there's this as well. This has just come to me that when we saw Fury Road, we all liked Furiosa, the character, as I said. She's a good character. And when we heard, okay, she's getting her own movie, we're like, oh, yeah, awesome. And I think we're all expecting something to be up there. And it's not that it's terrible, but it just doesn't quite deliver. So I think that comes into it as well. I'm not making fanboy excuses here. You know, we say every week if we like it or if we don't, but that come into it as well because
it's simply too long, guys. It's
yeah,
simply
yeah,
too
it
long,
is.
and
Just
because of the length, it makes it unfocused in Act 3. That's the problem. Is there's too much. Now, don't get me wrong. I love the expansion of the Madmax universe, and especially the Fury Road universe. I want to see as much of it as possible. The villains, the characters. There's the People Eater, the Bullet Farmer. Of course, all the other factions that we mentioned. So there's plenty in there, but the problem is, a 2.5 hour movie, and you never get the big war. You know, and then so Furiosa finds her way back to the Citadel. She tells this is after she lost her arm, rebuilds her arm. She tells Joe, like, if you get Dementus, he's mine. And then this is how, I don't know whose decision this was, Miller's or whoever, how they decide to cover the Dementus Immortan Joe rivalry war. They have the history man, as Gaz was saying, the future post-apocalyptic Merlin, narrate a montage that tells you about the 40-day war. Like, if that's not a fast-forward cop-out on the battle that you've been waiting for in the 2.5-hour movie, Gaz and I'm sorry if other people have different opinions on that. Weigh in the comments. But Gaz and I both had the same opinion on that, and we hadn't even discussed it until we talked.
Yeah.
He lives in the UK. I live in the West Coast. We watched it at separate times, and we just gave each other feedback after.
Dude, literally, when I hit you up last night, we more or less got out of the theater at the same time. Mm-hmm. I went to a late showing. Mm-hmm. And we both said that exactly. It's like you've been waiting, you've been teased. That there's going to be this big standoff. You're going to see this massive bike going across the desert. It's going to be fighting the war boys. Everything. You're like, awesome, Mans is sick. Furiosa is going to get a moment in this as well. And it just doesn't happen. It's literally more or less like a cutscene in a game with a guy narrating it. And you're just like,
good.
I was going to say there's a few teasers. No, wait, because that can be as part of Furiosa's moment. So I'll wait to go on.
Right, yeah. So as Gaz said, I didn't play what is it just called, Madmax, the open world.
It's just Madmax, yeah.
So it's just called Madmax, and apparently Gaz said like Scrotus is in that. Scrotus is Rictus Erectus's brother. So you've seen Rictus in Fury Road. He's Immortan Joe's son, one of Immortan Joe's sons. Obviously has the breeders, kind of genetic deformities. Going back real quick, I was going to say, did you feel like Joe kind of gave in to Dementus's demands kind of early with taking over Gastown? Because Joe obviously has the edge in the negotiations, right? And he's like, okay, I'll give you this many potatoes, this many da-da-da, and you can have Gastown, and I'm going to take the little girl and the doctor. And I just like, I felt like it was just too easy for Dementus to press him in the negotiation.
Well, possibly, but be fair, the guy is threatening to blow up in the entirety of Gastown, so there'd be no gas. Sure. But if you saw his eyes change when he spotted the girl, and I think that was then he just became fixated. Right, I want this girl as a future breeder for me, and I want that organic mechanic, as he's known, as well. So no, I didn't.
And he did kill the other dude in front of him when he let's say Dementus took the old guy from Gastown and he put the arrow contraption on his head and then had the chains attached to his nipples, which obviously ripped off.
This
classic Hemsworth. It's just, you're like, what is going? Some of the like scenes, as Gaz said, of just the outbursts. You're like, what? This is supposed to be negotiations for the wasteland, and what is going on? So anyway, I don't know. I kind of was like, I could see Gaz's point, but I was 50-50 on that. But so as I said, I hadn't played the video game, but like since Scrotus wasn't in Fury Road, what I thought was going to happen was there would be a big, huge war. Scrotus would die in that battle. None of that really happened. So again, it's another situation of like what I thought was going to happen in Furiosa versus what actually happened in the plot,
Yeah, I think many of us will be feeling like that.
Yeah. And then so essentially we come to the end where there's that, I'm not sure what kind of car that was that Furiosa was driving with the spike gun on the front at the very end, but they were trying to get the working wheels to it so that one war boy had the old classic antique, and she needed a vehicle to get to the front line. It had the one wooden post tire, so she drove it out there, and they were able to swap the tire, which allowed for her to chase Dementus into the desert. I felt that this scene was similar to, I think it's Beyond Thunderdome when they do the Wheel of Death and they put him on the horse with the water and they send him out. They send him out into the wasteland, and so it's kind of like a callback to that. But as Gaz said, also a callback with Madmax 1 with the interceptor chases. Furiosa obviously has the face mask and the goggles, so she's kind of. I don't know. This I'd say was the worst act, even though it was supposed to be intense. It's supposed to give you that Furiosa Dementis face-off. I felt for a guy who tortured her since she was 10 years old and kept her in captivity half of her life, I didn't think it had the brutality and the revenge element that it required for what the film built it up to be in the first two acts.
It starts that way. When she's done up in her outfit in a car. Just literally after Post-Apoc Merlin narrates the cutscene. Yep, she certainly looks. I'm having to keep this clean, folks. I'll say she looks bad. I can't say what I'm wanting to say, in street terms, that is. But she looks down to fight. This is where she gets a Mad Max moment, I guess, and she starts bemusing Dementis. No, it's good. I feel it's good until she gets out of the car and have the exchange of dialogue. Dementis has, as my buddy last night said, he called him Aussie James Bond, where he said, Crikey, we're just too evil, and I can't say it in the desert. Yeah. It's what a thing to say to a girl, eh? But I know what you mean. It's the first start of that act. I feel, yes, she does. She has a moment, and I'm going to admit that got me fired up. I'm like, man, this is going to be
more build-up and less payoff, right?
And it's when she eventually does catch up with him and gets out of the car, it's just a bit, it's anticlimactic, and then you feel it goes back to, sorry, folks, I'm spoiling it, but whatever. Just skip us and watch this later after you've seen it. Then you get Post-Apoc Merlin narrating again, and as we'll break down the various multiple endings.
Yeah, I want to go... Yeah.
Do you feel it's just skipping and glossing, like we were still not quite given what we were expecting, this huge epic moment, and we just don't really see it, do we? We see the start of it, how she looks in her outfit when she's pursuing him, the chase, all good stuff, all excellent.
Here's the thing. Dementis is introduced as pure evil, right, from his first scene, from her mom rescuing her, his initiation of the camp. All of that. He, everyone, how he treats everyone he encounters after that, how he treats his own troops, pure evil. Immortan Joe, Gaz, pure evil?
That was it. Well, he's not good, but Dementis is another level, isn't he?
Maybe Dementis is more unhinged, but Immortan Joe, the way he rules the people, withholding water, the way he treats
of course he's evil.
Pure evil. Now, Furiosa is willing to have the alliance with Immortan Joe for most of her life, even though he's pure evil, right? Yeah. So she's willing to have the alliance with someone who's pure evil to try to get the revenge on Dementis, yet when she comes down to Dementis, she doesn't even... I
think Joe...
Yeah, we're working on it.
We do. Yeah, we do. I'll maybe get a piece of paper and I'll just write on it with a marker set, and I'll just keep holding it up every time.
Yeah, we're discussing the ending here, so it is what it is, guys.
But budget only goes so far.
But we gotta evaluate this, because this is where the movie hits its apex of unfocus. So as they do their back and forth monologues, Furiosa and Dementis, in their final encounter, it basically shows It essentially shows her shooting him in the head, but it does a montage of mythical deaths for him, alternate endings, alternate deaths. Yeah. And one of them, she drags him away, like how he dragged Praetorian Jack, like revenge for him. And then he says I won't say what it is, Gaz, but he says what the real fate is. It's kind of odd. I liked that one best out of the ones they showed, but it was also a super weird way to approach Dementis' demise. Yeah. Like, they try to do this mythical urban legend thing, and I just don't know that it landed. And that's after the second act, it became rather unfocused. I mean, what we will say is how the very end showed her loading up the war rig before she goes off with Max and loading Immortan Joe's wives into the war rig. Yeah. Now, I don't know that because what they tried to do with what me and Gaz were saying, how the ending of the Rogue One scene set up A New Hope beginning, like the crossover, whatever you would call that, transition. much like the movie The Thing prequel does the same for the original The Thing. Although I don't know that was a necessary scene, guys. It was kind of like a lackluster payoff because we already know what happened in Fury Road. We already know the wives were on the war rig. So showing her load them in there doesn't change the fact that that's how Fury Road starts.
I think
So unnecessary, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And I think they literally did it for the reasons you said with Rogue One and A New Hope.
To cross it over, yeah.
After that, and on the credits itself, it's just like a reel of all the action scenes from
Fury Road. It's a montage of Fury Road.
Yeah, it is.
Like, and I felt like, okay, that's one way to do it, but like, it would have been cool to see the Max cameo again. It would have been cool to see some other things. So you could have known, you know, where was Max at? Obviously, the way it starts, Fury Road starts. Max is well, I guess okay. He was on the hill and he drove down, and then they crashed Interceptor and they caught him. But I would like to know, like, were they chasing him before that? It would have been nice to see a little bit more of Max, and it wasn't to be. Anyway, I think we can pretty much go to our rating. So I don't think, as we started, we said neither of us are really as high as Fury Road. Good film. So I'll do mine. Guys could do his. Right now, it's got an 8.0 on IMDb, which is high. I think it's an 86 on Rotten Tomatoes. I gave it a 7, guys. I think we were both around 7 to 7.5. I gave it a 7. Like I said, the goods, great sound, great colorization, great cinematography, great editing, good action scenes, good fight choreography. But it's a different flavor. It's no Fury Road, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm the same as you. I'm at a 7. Disappointed because I was expecting a lot from this movie. I like the Furiosa character, and you're teased with a lot of potential big engagements, and really none of them ever arrive. It's a series of skirmishes, and don't get me wrong, the action scenes are good. The small scale, I guess, compared to Fury Road, they are good, but it just doesn't quite deliver, and that's what I'm disappointed in. It's certainly no Fury Road. I think I'd give it maybe one more watch, a third possibly if we had to go in and do an ultra deep dive on one particular area or something, but that's it. Whereas Fury Road, man, I've seen it so many times.
We've probably seen it 50 times between the two of
easy.
us, you know what I mean? If, like I said, I think if I watch this one more time for the home screen, I think I would pretty much have it down, whereas Fury Road just always has so much more in it, you know? Like I said, interesting additions. You see the new fortresses, the fortifiers. You know, it didn't really show too much rock raiders.
No, it didn't. Yeah. Just real quick for the metalheads, you do see the guitar dude, but very brief. He's in that post-apoc Merlin narration montage moment referring to the 40-day Wasteland War, and you see a little clip in the background, and it's only for a couple of seconds with the guy kind of playing his guitar going back and forth. So I think the metalheads will probably be a bit disappointed in that as well. There's nothing like Fury Road where he's on the truck and he's got the flames coming out his guitar and he's got the riffs. So, there's nothing like that.
No, there's a specific name for that guy. Oh, what do they call him? I cannot remember it. Let's see if I can find it. The Doof Warrior. I think he's the Doof Warrior.
Ah, nice.
The dude that played him is Iota.
But yeah, it's not a terrible movie. It's good. It's just not. It just doesn't quite deliver. So that's why I'm with Ross. I'm at a 7 for that reason. Score
really
is good.
hot.
Cinematography is good. Those are good. A couple of standout moments, as we've said in the review. But other than that, it's just no Fury Road, to be honest.
Starts really hot, and then it just kind of cools off. It never has the big engagement, the big conflict that the whole time. Even the bullet farmer's use, like, I felt like just kind of lackluster. Like, there's not really any real point to what he did. Like, some of these dudes they showed you in Fury Road were the bullet farmer, and they had some of these more prominent roles. It's kind of like they threw him in Furiosa to say, hey, remember these guys? You know, and they're just kind of there. He doesn't really serve any plot element other than at one point he's at the fortress, and then he's not. You know what I mean? It's just kind of feels very inconsistent. I felt it became kind of unfocused towards the end of the second act. And the third act, I'm an ending guy. I'm a big payoff guy. We'll say Fury Road had that massive payoff. You know, they rip Immortan Joe's face off. Max delivers the corpse to the Citadel. You get the big moment, the big payoff, and see everyone's reaction to freeing the Citadel. That never comes in Furiosa, which I suppose is a problem with prequels because you already kind of have the bigger events happening later in the timeline. So, you know.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure there's a Furiosa comic as well. I think I've read it. I know I've mentioned this to you. I'm sure I did.
I know there's some
set in Gastown.
Fury Road prequels about Immortan Joe, and I want to read those. I
know. I've read some of them. I know I have.
Yeah, I know there's like maybe 2 or 3, and I think I downloaded soft copies at one point, but I don't know if I ever got around to reading them. So I do want to check those out. That's Furiosa, guys. We're both 7 out of 10. Go check it out. You know, the trailers are kind of, you know, what you would expect. Like I said, the standouts would I'd say like maybe Chris Hemsworth and Praetorian Jack. You know, some new fortresses, new factions, but we'll have to see how it does. You know, it seems like the performance that I can't even look at Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, X without getting blown up with Furiosa ads. So we'll see if that transfers over to people actually going to the box office, because right now it seems to have a similar lackluster performance. Thanks, Fire Pixie. If you're waiting for the Zodiac stuff, I have a big update. If you want Zodiac files, interviews, and content, the best thing you can do is like, sub, and share. Subscribe to the Patreon below or click join to become a member. I don't think we really have anything new in the hopper, guys. We'll probably go back
We do. The Logan fan film.
Yeah, I was just coming to that. We'll probably go back to the backlog, guys, and then Gaz found a Logan the Wolf. It's an independent kind of Wolverine Logan thing. Well, I guess we got Deadpool and Wolverine, but that's not till it's July. So probably not much new stuff in between, guys. We'll probably do some stuff from our backlog, and then until Deadpool 3 drops. So of course there's the Beverly Hills Cop Axel F. I'm not sure, that looks like that's July 3rd as well. So there's some stuff coming out. I don't know anything immediate. I'm probably gonna skip the Bad Boys. If you get around to Fallout, we could do that, guys.
All right,
Did you get to Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare yet?
Not yet, but I can do that this week.
Let's get Gazzy on that, because that one is badass too. And then other than that, guys, just keep the recommendations. We're probably going to skip Planet of the Planet of the Apes. Did you see that one yet, guys?
Unfortunately, I did.
It was mediocre?
It was, but yeah.
I didn't like the last one, so I'm just going to catch up alternative stream of that.
It pretty much, if you've seen the recent movies, you've seen them. It just feels like a rehash and just too similar. And man, I mean, you could just end those movies quite quickly if you manage to find some functional, great big water cannon, mass amounts of soap and razors firing out of it, and there's get a wash here, whatever. There we go.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really much, I guess. Kevin Costner's Horizon comes out June 28th, so we got to talk to those Western guys. I think was that Slipknot that recommended those guys.
Yeah, where we
So Horizon comes out June 28th. That's a Western. We could get that in the mix. Matt was talking about that Indian movie Kill. That's another action.
Yeah, I sent the trailer. I sent the trailer to you and Mac for that a while ago. That looks pretty tight, man.
Yep, so that's all that's going on, guys. Basically, for this time, we'll get the backlog. We're going to get Logan the Wolf coming up. Other than that, I don't really see much coming out here other than there's Beetlejuice in September. That's way out, so we'll try to get Deadpool 3 going before that. Joker in October. So all summer, guys, we're just going to be working on the backlog, but there will be more Zodiac interviews and Zodiac Files Episode 4 coming very soon. Best thing you can do to support the channel is like, sub, share, click join. We do have our graphic novel on Amazon, and join the Patreon, which is brand new. But Gaz and I will probably be working on some independent stuff, some short films, Logan the Wolf, and some of our backlog PXF classics while we wait for Deadpool 3 and some of that stuff. Are there any freaking original movies? I mean, this is basically the theme of Paradigm Review Show. The answer is no.
yeah, I mean, it's Yeah, and just a quick update for those who are here from More Shinobi. I know some people have been asking when we're going to do American Ninja 4 and some other martial arts stuff on there. Me and Ross have got so much going on behind the scenes with life in general. So we're doing what we can. We will get around to doing it. We haven't forgotten. We do have other things that we're going to cover on More Shinobi, which we haven't forgotten about. As I've said before on the streams, it's literally what works best here or on that one. It's whatever. Always, if you follow both channels, you'll always see content. If it's not on More Shinobi, it will be on here. There's always something happening.
Yeah, there's a whole, and me and Gaz have got stuff we haven't even got to. Of course, we have all the different series lists of PXF classics, the beat 'em up streams. I mean, we're still waiting on the release of Wrath of Cobra and Toxic Crusaders, so at least have some gaming stuff in between when that stuff drops. As far as original movies, Pixie, we have some actual PXF films that are coming up. A horror movie that's in development that I'm producing, so we'll have actual original content. With our boy Lauren Lepre. He is from Average Superstar Films. You can check out his channel. He's the creator of Dark Military, which is on Tubi, I think Amazon, and some other places. So we have a couple films I'm going to be appearing in. So there is some actual original content coming soon, but it's going to take a little while to get that stuff out and developed, as Gaz said. But in the meantime, Zodiac Files episode 4 should be the big one. And we'll just be working on our backlog and things of that nature. So click join at the membership button, like, sub, share as always. That's basically it. Of course, you can get the Patreon, and yeah, guys, we'll have varying stuff. I'm working my way through Ninja Kamui. I'm trying to finish Shogun, so those are things that could appear on Ma Shinobi, and we have a couple other ideas for Gaz too. Apparently, the Assassin's Creed Shadows trailer didn't go over very well. People thought it was a little bit too woke and got a lot of dislikes, so that's something Gaz could cover. But that's it, folks. Furiosa, go check it out. In theaters now as of yesterday. George Miller, Chris Hemsworth, Anya Taylor-Joy. Good action, good movie. Definitely interesting, enhancements of the Madmax universe saga, but no Fury Road. I'm ready. Yeah. It was good. I think we both said it was good. Not perfect. I'm ready for a Max movie. It sounds like to me, Gaz is ready for a Max movie. So
definitely. Good, just not quite up there.
Certain stuff we'll always cover here, guys, would be like Blade Runner franchise, Dune, Mad Max. Those are PXF classics, so those will always get covered here no matter what. We're out. Like, sub, share. Shout out to everybody who came through. Cat Daddy, Slipknot, Pixie. Shout out to our members, of course. Thanks for everybody for the support. Furiosa, out now. George Miller, we're out.
All right, peace. See you next time, y'all.